Okay, today we're going to look at how to change a decimal to a percentage. Now, first of all, we have to think of 0.5 as a decimal. That would be like 50 cents, or, as we saw in the last video, is equal to a half. So, we've got 0.5, and we want to make that a percentage over here. So, like I said before, I always like to put in a 0 here so that we've always got two decimal places, and you'll see why that makes things a little bit easier later on. To go from a decimal to a percentage, percent actually means, cent means 100. So 0.50 is actually 50 out of 100, or 50 hundredths. We know that it was written as 0.5, which is 5 tenths, but if we multiply the top and the bottom by 10, we'd have an equivalent fraction, and it would be 50 out of 100, or 50%, because percent means out of 100. 50.5 is 50 out of 100, which equals 50%. So you can see that when you've written it like this, it's really easy to go from a decimal to percentage. All we're going to do is time our decimal by 100. So let's have a look at another example. What if we had 0.65? What would that be as a percentage? Well, we know that we need to times it by 100. How do we times a number by 100? Well, all we have to do is move the decimal place 1, 2 places, because there are 2 zeros, and when we multiply, we go to the right. So we multiply, we go to the right 2 places because there are 2 zeros. So if we move our decimal from there over to here, our answer will be 65%. So 0.65 is 65%. So let's go back to our fractions and make our fractions into a decimal and then a percent. So let's have a look. We had 3/4, which we're going to make into a decimal. Choose our calculator, put in 3/4 equals S to D 0.75. So 3/4 equals 0.75. We're going to times that by 100 by moving the decimal 2 places, and we get 75%. So if you eat 3/4 of the cake, you've eaten 75% of the cake. Let's have a look at another one. Let's say 6 tenths. So as a decimal, let's put in 6 tenths. Well, let's do it here. We know that 6 tenths is 0.6. Okay, so on our calculator, we put in our 6 tenths equals, now that'll simplify it to 3/5 for us, but we press our S to D 0.6. Now remember what I said about putting the extra 0 here, because it makes it a bit easier, but you don't have to. We're going to look at timesing 0.6 by 100, because that's how we get our percentage. So we move our decimal 1 place, and it kind of looks like we can't move it another one, but we can. We're going to move it to here, and then any gaps we have to fill up with a 0. So 0.6 times 100 is 60%.